Can we start? Yeah? Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for showing up bright and early. I hope you're all excited for a fantastic day here at TEF 2024. I definitely am. My name is Adrian. I'm a Swiss-German translator, and I'm also a content creator for the YouTube channel Freelancing. I was graciously invited back by the commission to TEF, but this time as a host, which is cool. I've never done that before, but I was very honored and excited when they told me I can bring the youth panel to you guys. So I have the young professionals with me on stage here, which I was thinking that sounds kind of like an early 2000s rock band, the young professionals, but it's actually just a couple of people under 35 that work in the language industry. And me especially, I'm very happy that the commission is quite liberal in the definition of young, so I was able to sneak in just one more year, so very happy to be here on stage with you. We have something really special lined up for you. We want to make this session very informative, but also very, very practical. That was one of the first things I taught to the guests in the prep meeting a couple of weeks ago. We have a unique opportunity here. We get to speak to young people, to the future partners, future leaders in the industry. So let's make this really practical. I want to make sure that everyone on the floor here, everyone watching at home, can take away at least one, if not two, practical tips that they can implement right away in their professional lives. So especially if you're studying currently, if you're a trainee, if you're just getting into the industry, have been maybe for a couple of years, this panel is definitely for you. Because we all know that it's really hard to enter a new industry, especially the language industry nowadays is really tough, but it has been tough for all of us. I remember 8 years ago, it was super confusing for me when I started. There is simultaneously so much content out there, but at the same time you feel like nothing applies to me, right? It's so weird. Like, I don't know where to start. I don't know who to trust, who to listen to. That's a big reason why I started also my YouTube channel, to create this kind of one-stop shop for aspiring translators to come and get information if they need to. Of course, there is not everything there, but at least it's guiding them in the right direction. And that's exactly what we want to create today. Hopefully an hour of information, inspiration, motivation, whatever Asian you need, hopefully they can give it to you. Let's head over to Slido right away with the first question, because since we are the young professionals, we also want to know a bit more about you guys. Maybe that can help us adapt our answers accordingly. So we would like to know, how many years have you been in the language industry? If you work in a different industry, please abstain from voting for this one. This is really just to give us an overview of who we are talking to. I have three incredible guests with me today, each bringing a very unique background to the panel. You will see that in a second. We will skip any long-winded introductions about their pasts, because we want to hear what they have to say in the present. If you have questions, make sure to ask them in the tool. Can do it in Slido as well, the questions, right? Yeah, okay. We will, in the middle of the panel, address some questions, and then at the end, if you have something pertinent you want to ask immediately, just raise your hand or make yourself noticeable. Is that the word? Shout my name. I will try to see you. Let's look at the polls. Okay, that's perfect. Thanks for answering that way. That's what I wanted to see. 0 to 5 years is dominating, and still studying, preparing for it is also there, and that's exactly our target audience, right? So that's great. Please don't leave the room if you're in the other categories. It's fine, right? Maybe you can still learn a thing or two from these young people. All right, let's get right into it with the first round of questions. Let's get to know our panelists a bit more. And I start with the person to my left, Kai Brappery. You started off by studying German literature. Nowadays, you're a translator living in Berlin. In 2011, you actually won the Juvenes Translatores contest from the Commission for the UK. Can you start off by talking a bit about this contest, what that early recognition meant for your career, and how it feels like now looking back?
Thank you, and good morning. Good morning to everybody online. It's lovely to be here. Yes, Juvenes Translatores, I imagine quite a few of the people in this room have already heard of it, but for anybody who hasn't, it is an EU-wide translation contest for school students aged 17. You get given a piece to translate from your source to your target language, and there is one winner from every EU country. So when I did it 13 years ago now, one of those EU countries was still the UK, and I was the UK's winner, RIP. So what that experience brought me, most importantly, was just a sense of the possibilities for jobs that there were in the translation industry. The UK has a deserved reputation for monolingualism. It has not been compulsory to study a language beyond the age of 14 for about 20 years now. So if you do have a passion for languages, as I did, and want to study them at university, quite often the career advice you'll be getting is, well, you can become a language teacher with that, which is obviously an extremely worthy and important profession. That's also, I wouldn't be a translator today if it wasn't for my language teachers. But it's not where my talents or interests lay, and it really neglects the huge swathe of possibilities that there are for you if you learn a lot of language. So coming to Brussels, seeing inside DGT, seeing what a translator's workday looked like at the European Commission, that was hugely eye-opening to me. And so if you're in the room today, if you're watching online, if you know you want to be a translator, congratulations, you've got further than I had. That's a great first step. But also take the opportunity of being here or meeting with people online to ask people about their jobs, because there might be another job in the translation industry that you've never even heard of, but will actually turn out to be your passion. You might be the world's most talented terminologist or a passionate prompt engineer in waiting, and you just don't know because you haven't heard about those jobs yet. My advice from my experience is just talk to as many people as possible and really find out what the possibilities are.
Thank you very much. We have one of the last UK winners here on stage, so it's quite a relic. Moving on, we have Monica Albini with us. You are a trained translator turned AI expert, so you will answer a lot of AI questions, I guess. You've had a unique experience at the DG Translation as you were its first AI-focused trainee. What does that mean? Please tell us, what did you do and how do you see yourself within this industry in the future?
Yes, that's correct. I was actually the first AI trainee in the Blue Book scheme. I was based in Luxembourg last year, so it was actually 1 year ago I started my Blue Book experience. I started in October 23 and I finished in February 24. And I was in DGT, but different from my other colleagues who were translating in DGT with their mother tongues, I was working with AI. So I was dealing with all the new tools internally at the European Commission. At that time, I remember I worked on this tool called e-briefing. So that was helping for the policy briefing. And I mostly work on the whole traineeship. And that was when I discovered how much I like prompt engineering, because that was what I was doing at that time. So I was basically focusing on the quality of the result of this tool, of this machine, and I had to be sure about the quality, about the multilingualism of this tool. And that experience really helped me to see that actually it's possible to combine any language or translation background to something more technical. Because, for example, in my case, I don't have any master degree or any bachelor degree in IT, or I'm not an engineer, but I can see that even if I come from a linguistic background, it's possible to combine it with some more technical field. And that experience also helped me to find my niche, because right now I'm currently still working on it. So I'm still working in translation with artificial intelligence. So in this innovation team, we try to combine these two different words, but that actually can work together pretty well.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's exactly what you just said, right? You found something that you weren't expecting would be your path, and now you're following it.
Exactly.
That's great. We will learn more about that later. The third panelist is Alessio Armenise. Being the only freelancer amongst today's panelists, you've ventured into language consultancy and language training in addition to translation work. How do these roles complement each other that you do? And do you think diversifying like this is key for young aspiring translators?
Yes, I think it's key, especially if you're at the beginning, because maybe when you start as a freelance translator, you don't have regular work. So at the beginning, it's a good solution to diversify. For example, in my case, apart from my translation work, I also teach English and French to Italians, locally. So I have some companies and some professionals I follow, and I teach them English mainly. And apart from that, this year I'm also starting to teach at university. I'm going to teach translation. Specifically, I'm going to do a course about transcreation and another one about post-editing, which are two important services that at the moment in the industries, according to me. Both of them, because one of them is like very creative, so transcreation. So for all marketing campaigns, I translate, and the other one. So with many requests I get by clients to do post-editing of AI and empty outputs. I mean, I also do that other part. So I think that diversifying is extremely important. I'm not. I don't think that one person can only do one thing. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's no need to put yourself in a box when you're starting out, but ever as well. Like I do the same. When I registered my business, I intentionally kept it very broad. What I do, I just said I do communications, and now I'm free to do anything I want in my freelance business. So that's a good tip for people starting out. Thank you very much. We will, in the second round of questions, go more into the practical side of things. But now to loosen you guys up a bit and test your quick thinking skills, I have a few rapid-fire questions prepared, okay? I want you to answer as quickly as possible. Unprepared, one word, maybe 2 words max, to get to know a bit more about you, okay? Kai, best advice you ever got?
Drop the physics class.
Nice. Alessio, one tool you can't live without?
Language tool. So when I write my emails, I don't do typos.
Okay, the correction tool. Okay, nice. Monica, biggest misconception of your job?
That AI will steal my job.
Nice. Kai, favorite language combination?
Oh, it's got to be German to English, my first love.
Alessio, coffee or tea?
I'm Italian.
Yeah, what did I do? Wait, Kai, coffee or tea?
I'm British.
Thank you. That was not good. Monica, what's your passion project?
A prompt engineering course based on AI, but created with a storytelling approach.
Wow, okay. Kai, describe yourself in 3 words.
Not quick thinking.
Nice. Alessio, best part about freelancing?
Having the freedom to just go to work somewhere else.
Monica, translation or interpreting?
Translation.
And Kai, cat as a tool or cat as a pet?
Toughest question of the day, but cat as a pet.
Okay, they came prepared. Well done. Thank you very much. I think we got to know them now quite well, so let's move into more practical things. Monica, you told me that last year's TEF was a very important turning point in your career, right? The reason behind that has to do with networking. Could you please share a bit about that experience that you had in particular, how it has impacted your career, and the importance of networking for the young audience? Can you share a bit about that?
Thank you for this question. I love it. It feels like a circle, because the fact that I'm here right now is thanks to TEF 23 last year. Because the story is that I was based in Luxembourg, okay? I was doing my Blue Book traineeship in Luxembourg. And as a trainee working in DGT, we came here with all the other trainees for the TEF 23. So we were volunteering here, exactly as the other trainees are doing here right now. And so we were here, we were helping with the conference. We also had the chance to sit here and listen to the speakers. And I remember I was taking note of the speakers here. And then obviously we had also the chance during the coffee breaks to go and have our networking possibility. And during that networking, during that coffee break, I met the CEO of the company I'm working at right now, Diego. Hi, Diego. I can see him here.
First row.
The first row. And so that was how everything started, because then we kept in contact. We followed each other on LinkedIn. I remember that I participated to a couple of webinars when I was still based in Luxembourg during my traineeship. Then when I moved back to Italy, I participated to a couple of events, of the company's events, and then he offered me this position because there was his position opening at this team. And it's a team about innovation, research, and development, so something that I really, really like. But yeah, I really would like to pass the idea that this networking opportunity here, it's very important, especially for trainees over there. I think that most people have this idea that those who are speaking here are kind of unreachable. You know, that's, okay, no, people who are there must remain there and we have to talk between us. Just, it's not like that. So just feel free to come and ask something, or, you know, like share your experiences, share something, okay? It's just a training. Like the importance of doing networking, it's a training. So maybe the first time, okay, it's gonna be super bad because you're too shy, you're introvert, you don't know what to talk about. But then really it can really, really help you, because very often in life, it's not only about what you know, it's also about who you know. And that can really change your life, your career.
Definitely, yes. Round of applause, nice. It also helps immensely when you realize that no one really has an idea what they are doing, right? So it's very easy, like we're all people, just come talk to us, it's fine. Alessio, you managed to do what many people are struggling with and are aspiring to do. You studied translation, then you did a short stint as a translation trainee at the Commission in Rome, right? And then you went straight into freelancing successfully. Can you give the audience like a walkthrough of practical steps that you took to make that work? Some actual steps that you attribute some of your success to?
Yes, I started during the pandemic, so I was forced to be at home. So I didn't have the chance to start working, for example, in-house in a translation company. But I decided to start as a freelancer immediately. So the first thing I did was looking for clients. So I looked on LinkedIn, Pros, Google. And then I got my first client, which was a small translation company based in Peru. And we also actually studied at the same university, but he was older than me, like a lot of time before he studied. So I had like a main client for 1 year. And during that year, I also started sending applications to other agencies, other clients, and I built an online presence on LinkedIn especially, but then also on Instagram, and now I'm also exploring TikTok, even if I'm not Gen Z. So it's a bit hard for me because every social media has their own language. And but yeah, LinkedIn was key for me. So to build a strong online presence and to also build a strong network. Before it was online, and one of the first people I met was you, actually, Adrian. You helped me a lot, so I want to thank you for that, with your tips. And I also met other beautiful people online that gave me really valuable advice. Then I started posting like constantly, like regularly, once a week or maybe twice a month. And I realized that being consistent was key, because there were periods when I worked a lot and I didn't have time, for example, to network or to post content online. But then people, if you don't post, like, you don't exist online, so people might forget about you. So it's important to always stay top of mind. I know that is really hard, but it was extremely important for me to start.
Yeah, you definitely made it work. Hello, yeah, content marketing. That was really impressive to see, because when I first heard about you, I had the impression that you were already fully established, right? But then later I learned that you just started, right? So it also creates this kind of impression of how you present yourself to, because in the end, I mean, a client, an end client will not, of course they care like how good you are, but in the end, if you're really good and you don't have the necessary experience, they will not mind about that, right? So it was really cool to see. And I mean, last night I asked him, can't you just cross-post what you put on Instagram to TikTok? And he said, no, of course not. Like, okay. So yeah, I mean, you know much more about that, and it's an approach that works for you, content marketing. So that's very cool. Kai, you grew up in the UK. Now you live and work as a translator in Germany. How important for you is this cultural awareness that you have, essentially knowing like 2 ways of life, right? In fact, do you have any tips potentially for young people out there to strengthen their cultural awareness as a young translator?
Yeah, I actually just saw a question come up on Slido about how important experiences in another country, how important that is for your translation profession. And yeah, I would say incredibly important. I grew up in the UK, I then lived in Switzerland for 2 years, I now live in Germany, and that's important both on the sort of source side of my translation, that I will be able to recognize very, very specific things that come up in texts. Particularly, German is obviously spoken across several countries, and I will sometimes review translations by translators who are very familiar with Germany but not with Switzerland, and they may not know about all of the very specific local festivals that they have, for example. So there'll be some mistranslation that, you know, perhaps no reader outside the sort of outside Switzerland itself would recognize, but as we saw in Anthony Pym's talk yesterday, somebody might be very disappointed if they actually go there and they're not getting what this translation said they were getting. So that cultural awareness is very important on the source side. It's also very important on the target side. I think one of the problems with living outside your home country is you obviously learn so much about the language you're translating out of, but you also sometimes start to lose touch with the language you're translating into. This particularly came up during the pandemic because in German, you don't say you're working from home, you say you're doing home office. And I started using this in English with sort of friends back in the UK who just looked at me like I was mad. Fortunately, you can get away with looking mad during the pandemic. You get forgiven a lot. But if you kind of start losing touch with those nuances, then that's when your translation sort of loses a level of quality and starts to sort of almost pick up an MTE's kind of quality, even if you've translated it yourself. So yeah, the cultural awareness is very important, but staying in touch with your home or target culture is also very important. And I think my biggest tip for that is just read as broadly and as deeply as possible, because if you do that, you sort of get a felt instinct for when something sounds natural in your target. And that is something that you just build up with time. So you might not have it at the beginning of your career, but the more reading you do, even if you're just starting out in your career, the more of a sense you'll have of, yes, this sounds right, this sounds natural, this is a high-quality translation. And again, that lets you give that appearance of absolutely being established and knowing everything, even when you're just starting out. So that appearance is key.
Definitely, reading different registers as well, technical, non-technical, yeah. Okay, and yeah, you raised a good point. There are some really strange festivals in Switzerland, right? So I can't even imagine localizing them into English. That must be a challenge. Okay, very nice answers. Thank you very much. Before we head into the third round of questions, I would like you guys to work a bit. So let's head over to Slido. We have 2 questions prepared for you there. Both of them will create a word cloud. So first of all, I would like you to answer what's the biggest challenge for young professionals entering the translation industry today. Please answer as short as possible, 1 word, 2 words max, so we get a nice word cloud. And later on, we can switch to the opportunities one, and I would like to know the biggest opportunities. So I will leave you guys some time to answer these, and maybe while we wait for the answers, we can discuss in the panel what you think are opportunities and challenges. When I was thinking about it, I immediately thought about, you mentioned already, transcreation, creativity, right? With the tendency of more and more machine-translated content, there is definitely a tendency towards standardization of language, of text, right? Everything becomes very monotone, right? So it's much easier to stand out with creativity. So that's one opportunity that I see. I don't know if anyone has a challenge opportunity that would like to share. Or someone that comes up already. We are still on the challenge, right? Yeah.
Maybe at the beginning for me, it was to find clients. Yeah, that was the biggest one.
It's also the biggest challenge from the audience. Huh? Finding clients, rates, and AI, and networking. Networking, you can just talk to Monica. She will teach you, crash course. Finding clients. Going back to your answer before, you said your first job you found through someone at university, right? So he was a colleague of yours and then started his own agency, or what?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I saw another translator working for him, and then I realized he also studied at my university, and so I just decided to send him a message and to start talking about a collaboration.
Yeah, it's interesting because it was exactly the same for me, right? All my first clients were contacts I had from university that then end up working in the language industry. That's also a huge advantage of university degrees, right? We heard it yesterday. It's not only about learning the skill. It's also extremely important networking opportunity. I still work to this day with some of my university friends that are now high ups in the industry. So there is definitely an opportunity there as well.
Yeah, and if I may add something related to AI, I think here the main problem is the timing, because everything is happening so quick, so fast, and so also I can see the how to learn to use AI or AI as a challenge. The problem, if you think about it, okay, we are in 2024. Okay, ChatGPT 3.5 was November 22, and then we also had ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 4 Turbo, ChatGPT 4 Mini. We're waiting for ChatGPT 5 plus all the other LLMs. People don't have time to adapt and to learn about all these new tools, because obviously it's something normal. If you don't know how to use something or to work with something, you are scared of it. It's something automatic for a human being. So I think here the biggest challenge obviously is how to use it properly without actually being scared of this. So that can be, in my opinion, a challenge, but at the same time, an opportunity.
There you go, yeah. The audience agrees with you. Social media, AI, adaptability. Creativity is coming up. Yeah, it's interesting. So AI is both a challenge and an opportunity. Interesting, yeah. Anything else, opportunity-wise? I will ask you a more specific question about that, so we wait a bit more. But interesting. We can come back to that later on. Let's move on first to the last round of questions I have prepared for you guys, and then we go to the audience to ask more relevant questions for you. So Alessio, I know from a previous conversation we had that you are focusing your marketing efforts very much on finding direct clients for the Italian market. Can you tell us a bit about your experiences, both positive and negative? And if you have negative ones, do you have any strategies on how you overcame them, or how you're still overcoming them?
Yeah, at the beginning, I asked to myself, how can a direct client choose me over a more experienced translator? I've been in the industry for 4 years now, maybe 5. Yeah, nearly 5. And so then I got an answer from one of my new direct clients, because they, for example, target a young audience. So I speak their target audience language, and maybe in that case I can help them more, because so not only a translator translates into their native language, but it also needs to be specialized in specific niche you're translating into. But also, every generation speaks a different language. So another point is that, for example, a young translator knows how to use social media a bit better. Sorry, I hope not to offend anyone. So maybe that's a good way to market yourself and to be more visible to direct clients. Indeed, one of my wins was that one of them found me. I didn't look for them. They found me a year ago, and now we've been working together for a lot of time. And another win is that they're happy with my translation work, because we are constantly communicating. So I know what they want from me. And we can also talk about, for example, their brand tone of voice, if they want to tone it down for the Italian market, for example, because English and Italian have two different styles. Yeah, basically, I like working with them because they're always there, available to answer my questions immediately, and so it's smoother. And I also have not so tight deadlines, so I can work better on my creative translations for them, especially the marketing campaigns with a lot of puns that need to be rewritten in Italian and transcreated.
Yeah, so it sounds more like a collaboration you have to reach the perfect copy rather than a service provider role that you have. That sounds ideal. The direct client that found you directly, they found you through social media, through your postings? Yeah.
I think now I'm starting to ask my clients how they found me, because that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But I think they found me through my LinkedIn network, because I send invitations to potential clients every now and then. And so they maybe read my posts, and then they'll reach out to me if they need an Italian marketing translator.
That's great. Yeah, that means your passive content marketing is paying off. Like when you stay consistent, down the line it may lead to something, right? So.
Yeah, another thing is also networking, because, for example, I got a new contact through a colleague of mine. She works with another language combination and for a new client, and they also needed an Italian translator. So she recommended me, and she knew me thanks to my content. We only had a few chats, but I think that seeing me constantly there online helped.
Brilliant. Monica, since we have a language AI researcher on stage, of course I want to pick your brain a bit about things you're working on, any new developments, something that you find exciting that's on top of your mind. Can you share a few insights?
Yes, so the first thing I think is going to be, do not underestimate the fact that if you have a linguistic background, the fact that you cannot work with these new AI tools. Because you have to consider that as a linguist, you have been mentally prepared to ask some kind of question. You are much more likely probably to have a good answer instead of someone who was not that prepared, who doesn't have that kind of background of studies. Because if you think about it, the way that a translator or a linguist is able to rewrite a sentence or to find, an adjective or another way of saying, that thing. I think that that's important when it comes also to going deeper into these new technologies and study them. For example, I'm thinking about the prompt engineering. Okay, it's not just because these new tools are for everybody, then it's very easy to use them. It's not just because they are open, they are free, and so okay, everybody can use them. Obviously, everybody can use them, but not everybody's good at using them properly. And so, for example, I'm focusing on creating prompt engineering for specifically intended for linguists, specifically intended for project managers or for marketers. So because you have to really create your own way of working with that tool in order to have the best outcome from the tool. And then another thing I would like to say at this point is I would like to use this term from an Italian professor who's working at Harvard University, and she was in Torino, my city, this spring because there was this the Festival of Economics, and she said that nowadays there is this absolute need of reskilling. But pay attention, reskilling is not the same as upskilling. Okay, these are two different processes. The upskilling is giving the possibility to an employee, for example, to gain new skills within that same role. Okay, like new skills, new soft skills, hard skills related to that particular role. When we talk about reskilling, we talk about another kind of process. That kind of process is to broaden, to open more possibility to that employee, for example, to change that role in the future or be having this kind of tools that might be more reusable or adaptable to other kind of position, other kind of roles. And I think that right now, since we don't know exactly what's the direction of this industry, I think it's very important to be flexible, to be creative, to be curious and learn new skills. I remember I was reading this LinkedIn post last week about a colleague of mine. She started as a freelance translator, then as an in-house translator, and now she's working with me. Now she's working with prompt engineering, she works with Python, and she helped with some automizing some internal workflow. And when she looked at all this background, all this process, she's like, wow, I'm really good now. I really feel that I have an added value now, because at the beginning I had that kind of skills, that kind of knowledge. Now I feel that I can be more flexible for another role. I feel that I can also obtain another kind of work, another kind of position, thanks to this reskilling that she has done. And I think that's the real superpower at this point.
So are you creating trainings then within the organization?
Yes,
yeah,
trainings,
okay.
exactly. So for those who wants to, who works, for example, as translators or linguists, so there is a proper way to be trained in order to work properly. For example, with ChatGPT for translators. Then if your tasks are more related to project managers, then okay, we can focus more on that kind of activities.
Okay. Yeah. So very targeted use of AI for specific roles. Okay. Thank you very much. Kai, as the industry evolves, you hear these new things from Monica. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for young translators to innovate, to create new niches for themselves? Are there any areas for you personally that you are excited about exploring?
Yeah. I mean, I have to say the words MT and AI, and because the topic of this conference is words matter, I do also need to point out that those are two slightly different things. Neural machine translation works differently and has slightly different outcomes to large language models, what we talk about when we usually talk about generative AI. So, that distinction in itself is potentially something interesting for newcomers to the industry to explore. But I think what you're saying about flexibility, reskilling, I think the advantage that newcomers to the industry have at the moment is they already know they're going to have to do that. They're more used to thinking in terms of gaining lots of different skills across their career instead of just being a translator. And in particular with Gen AI, with MT, I think there are exciting opportunities to not just be doing post-editing, which I know is kind of a scary, unpleasant word for a lot of people. It's also not necessarily my favorite activity. But if you go deeper into training these translation engines, there are tasks that combine the kind of linguistic expertise you might be getting into translation in order to use with these new technologies. So, for example, at my company, we just merged with a language AI company, and some of the new tasks I've been doing recently have involved compiling lists of German, Austrian, Swiss specific vocabulary to see where the differences are and how we might want to translate that to English. And looking at if we want to create language AI that translates in a gender neutral or gender inclusive manner, what are the sort of best practices for that across various languages? Something that's important to me personally as a trans person. So I think there are these specific niches within the new technologies where you can also get really into that linguistic nitty-gritty that is what I think a lot of people go into the profession for, and also use your creativity to solve these new problems. And I think the advantage that young people today have is perhaps not being as intimidated by that as somebody who's been in the profession for 20 years and now has to upskill, reskill, learn a lot of new vocabulary, new strategies and ways of working. And one final thing, you know, when GDPR came in a couple of years ago, that prompted everybody to start retranslating their privacy policies and things. And I think how MT interacts with ethics and confidentiality is a big area that has not yet really been sufficiently explored. So if you're sort of thinking you might want to go in the lawyer-linguist direction, I think that's going to be something that the lawsuits are going to start rolling in a couple of years. So that might be an interesting area to explore.
Thank you very much to all of you. This was very insightful. I hope the audience could take away some practical tips. We will head into the questions in a minute, but I see there are 18 questions, so there's no way we can answer them all. But that just means please reach out to us throughout the day, tomorrow as well. Come directly to us, reach out to us on LinkedIn, through the platform for one-on-one meetings. We're very happy to help and to talk to you. Yeah, let's head into the questions. I hope you guys are ready. Let's take the first one. How long do you think it takes for a beginner freelance translator to be able to earn a decent living purely from translation? 1.5 years for me.
It depends on what you mean by decent. But I mean,
your interpretation of decent.
My first year was not so bad. I mean, I think it slowly increases. So you can't just start and earn a lot of money at the beginning. But yeah, I can't complain about because I at the beginning, for example, I lived off only translation, so and it was okay for me. I mean,
what I did when I started out, I took a huge piece of paper, put it on the living room floor, and I made a 3-year plan, 2017, 18, 19, what I want to earn, what I want to achieve in every year. And there's something incredible happening in the brain when you write something down, so I can definitely recommend that. And I was able to hit every target, and at 1.5 years, I was able to go full-time. What would you like to teach the older language professionals? Nice. Who wants to take that?
I kind of already answered this in my last answer, but I think flexibility and willingness to work with new tools. This is actually, I'd like to think I'm not an older language professional, still being on the youth panel, but this is something that I am already learning from my younger colleagues. They will come in with experience of different tools or kind of tweaks to how we do things, and I can feel a resistance within myself already of, oh, but this is how I'm used to doing it, this is how I've always done it all these 8 years. And then I really have to tell myself, no, this is more efficient, this is, you know, it'll take me maybe an hour's work to learn how to use this new tool, and then it's going to save me so much time. So yeah, that would be my number one thing that I'd like to pass on.
Thank you. Most questions are about freelancing. Sorry, Alessio. Would you quit freelancing if you were offered a well-paid full-time job on a permanent contract?
No.
No, me neither. There is a...
Unpopular opinion. But
You go ahead.
no, because I started from the very beginning to freelance. So I tried once to apply for a full-time job. Then I realized I wasn't really interested in working.
Yeah, you also said what you enjoy the most about freelancing is the freedom, right? So
yeah. So I like that. For example, for some months I can go, I don't know, to Spain and spend a few months working from there, or I have my own rhythm. For example, I have my, okay, I know I shouldn't say this, but I have my slow mornings, and for example, I work better in the afternoon and in the evenings. So with a full-time job, I might not be able to do this. For example, I work very well until 8 p.m. I'm very productive, so I can go with my own rhythm, and yeah.
Okay, let's switch it. Kai, why are you not freelance?
Again, it is a question of personality. I know that rates do play a big part in it, especially when you're new to the industry. But I've seen a couple of my former colleagues go freelance and really enjoy it because they wanted that freedom and flexibility. But I just have a really neurotic personality and need to be around people in an office all day in order not to go mad. So that's it.
But you can do that also when you're a freelancer.
How so?
You can go to co-working places, or you can go to a translators associations or meet up in a cafe and work there. It's not the same, of course.
Yeah, and that stable salary at the end of the month. It's nice, yeah. Are there any questions in the room? Yes.
My question to you is, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? And you can interpret it in two ways. Where do you aspire to be in 10 years from now? And where do you think you're going to be in 10 years from now?
Is it for anyone in particular, or?
Anyone who would like to answer.
Monica maybe hasn't answered one.
I feel the
Be
pressure
careful.
now. So I've never thought about freelancing, for example. So I don't see myself being a freelancer. So I think I can still see myself working in a company, in a research team. So something that we can develop, something that we can do better. But at the same time, I would like to implement also the education point of view in terms of a university level. I saw a question also on the screen about if young professionals right now are focusing more on technology than education and translation, for example. I think it's the other way around. I can see the difference that right now university still tend to focus really just on translation. And that's okay if you want to be a translator, right? But you need also to provide this basic knowledge, at least, of what's the reality of the situation. So I would like really to also have an impact there at this level.
Nice. Can we do one more from Slido and one more from the audience? Yeah? Okay. Yes.
Thank you. So today and yesterday I hear more and more such a term, a buzzword, content creation in our industry. So the question is, are we going to visit CCEF forum in 2030? So is it going to be Content Creating Europe forum in 6 years, or still TEF? And what is content creation for you? Thank you. So actually, maybe to you, Adrian, since actually you wrote in your profile as content creator.
Exactly, yeah. So that's definitely has nothing to do with my translation part of my business. This is strictly my way of marketing. My YouTube channel is the only marketing outlet I have, and that's very much content focused. So I research a topic every week, I make a video about it, 10, 20 minutes, I put it out. It's a passive way of marketing, so I put myself out there every week. I stay on the top of people's minds. When a lot of people think of a Swiss-German translator, they think of me. So I get a lot of recommendations through that. But that's definitely not contending with translating for the title of this conference. No. It's just my preferred way of marketing, because I don't really I'm also not really good in approaching clients with cold marketing. It hasn't shown any results for me, so I changed my strategy to that way, and Alessio as well, right? Yeah. Hope that answers your question. All right, let's take the last one. How do you balance diversity at work and the need to specialize to attract clients? Ooh.
I can answer that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, so if you do.
Yeah, I think I did. I specialize, for example, in my translation niches. It doesn't mean I translate everything. I specialize in marketing, e-commerce, and medical translation. And as for language teaching, it's something else. So I can diversify and at the same time specialize. I don't see the two things in contrast.
Brilliant. I think that's it. Yeah, we can go on. Okay, nice. Let's take one more. Young translators used to aspire to direct clients versus agencies. Is that still the case? What timeline should they aim for in building a portfolio? I'm sorry.
I didn't understand the last part of the question, though. Yeah. But I'll answer the first part. Now, for me, at the beginning, I was targeting agencies because for me, it was easier. Now I'm focusing more on direct clients, but just it's a personal preference. I don't think it's something general. I mean, I don't think we can generalize that young translators aspire to direct clients.
What I see, or what, in my opinion, I do think that it's probably harder nowadays to succeed as a generalist than it was some years ago. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go for direct clients, because there are also amazing specialized agencies that are working in a specific field. But specialization has always been important, but has become even more, I feel like. But don't let yourself, don't procrastinate just because you haven't found your niche yet, right? You can definitely rather just start and then worry about your niche. I haven't found my niche until I was 3 years into my business. I actually started with another one. And only now, last year, I fully focused all marketing efforts into one niche. So that shouldn't stop you from starting. But yeah, it's probably people, generally people still prefer direct clients, but I like a nice balance. It's less hassle to work with agencies. One more? All right. Tips on building your LinkedIn. Last question. Who wants?
I go. So in my case, find your niche. Find the topic you would like to talk about, to reflect about on your LinkedIn page. It can take you a while, but then you will see that there are actually people who post about it every day or every week. So follow those people, for example, in order to exchange ideas. And then I also try to post quite often, let's say once per week or every 2 weeks. So I try to share something. It can be a reflection that I had or an event I participated at. So sharing something. And the most important one, I think, is what I said, trying to find your niche. Because the more specific you are, okay, you will attract the people who are also working on it. So I will say the niche is the key word here.
Can I add something? I think also a good profile, visually. So first of all, professional photo, a good banner. I always recommend to ask to graphic designer, and also a strong bio. And as Monica said, posting regularly.
Thank you very much. That's all from us. Hope you enjoyed it. Be patient, be persistent, be curious. It's the best job in the world, so you definitely want to do that. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Many thanks to Adrian, Alessio, Kai, and Monica. We will now take a short break, but please note